Hello, mythology and literature enthusiasts. Welcome to Eternal Echoes, where myths resonate forever. I have to tell you that the English version is released every Friday evening, first on Spotify, followed by Saturday morning on Apple Podcast. The Turkish version is released every Tuesday on Spotify and Wednesday on Apple Podcast. There is also a blog for this podcast, and I will be thrilled if you follow. The blog's name is eternal-echoes-myths.blogspot.com. You can also find me on Instagram with the username eternal_echoes_myths. I'm looking forward to your support. I have to tell you something funny. I learned British English in primary and secondary school and American English in high school. So my accent might be a little weird. I'm trying my best. Please excuse me in advance. Now, let's dive into our topic. I'm BİLGE, and today we are going to talk about the story of Prometheus. Let's give a round of applause for Prometheus, who brought fire to humanity, yet lives a life that's almost hellish. If your hands didn't burn, of course. Prometheus might be one of the most rebellious figures in Greek mythology. He's a titan, but not the type of who moves mountains and shakes the earth. More like type who helps humans despite the gods. When he stole fire from Olympus and gave it to humanity, he didn't just give them a stick of fire. He ignited the spark of civilization. Some literary scholars interpret him as the educator of humanity. The reason is that by giving fire to humanity, he also enlightened them. But what happened? Zeus got very angry and chained Prometheus to a rock. Verse: every day an eagle came to eat his liver. Just ew! This was tragic because maybe if he died, he would have found peace. But we all know he's a bit stubborn and enduring this torment every day. Okay, I can handle it. Let's move on. In fact, this is probably the first endless cycle of suffering story in mythology. Prometheus here is a bit like the character from Groundhog Day, except instead of repeating his day, he loses his liver over and over again. Prometheus' story is so powerful that even Mary Shelley drew inspiration from it. In 1818, the subtitle of her novel Frankenstein was The Modern Prometheus. Here, Dr. Frankenstein's attempt to access forbidden knowledge and the tragic results of it remind us of Prometheus' story. But the difference is, Prometheus was punished for doing good for humanity. Dr. Frankenstein, he acted for a bit more selfish reasons. The result? He created one of humanity's most famous science fiction monsters. Prometheus gave fire, Frankenstein gave life. One is the first hero in mythology, the other is one of the most iconic characters in Gothic literature. But they have one thing in common. Knowledge is power, but it can also be a curse. You have probably all watched Harry Potter. When I was a kid, Severus Snape was always scared me. But as I grew older, I realized he was a character who had knowledge, was self-sacrificial, but had paid a heavy price for it. Though he seemed cold and cruel on the outside, he was actually protecting Harry by making a huge sacrifice. Now I became Death, the destroyer of worlds. Does it sound familiar? This is a quote from Oppenheimer film 2023, release that has won many Academy Awards. This quote shows that, just like Prometheus, Oppenheimer thought he was cursed by knowledge. On one hand, he made a huge scientific discovery, but on the other, he left humanity with something terrifying. Prometheus Fire enlightened humanity, but he was punished. Oppenheimer's atomic fire changed the world, but it brought him immense guilt. There's actually a thesis about this. While trying to help humanity, they ended up complicating their lives. How? When Prometheus gave fire to humanity, the Golden Age ended, and the Silver Age began. So let's talk about Hesio's 5 Ages of Humanity. This is stated in his work, Works and Days. Golden Age. Under the rule of Kronos, humans lived without labor and in happiness. There was no death or illness, and everyone lived in abundance. On Silver Age, under Zeus' rule, humans stayed children for a long time, but then lived sudden and painful lives. They no longer honored the gods. What happened in the Bronze Age? This was a time of warriors and powerful people, but also one where constant war and violence ruled. In Heroes' Age was a period with epic events like the Trojan War. Iron Age was the age Hesiod lived in, full of suffering, injustice, and misery. When Prometheus stole fire from Zeus, he gave humanity great power. However, this caused Zeus' wrath and led to humanity's punishment. Zeus created Pandora, releasing sickness, jealousy, and death into the world. Pandora is the first female figure in mythology. This is a whole separate topic, and I will tell her story in future podcasts. So Prometheus Fire led to end of humanity's pure and happy life in the Golden Age, and was the cause of their transition to harsher ages. What does Prometheus' fate teach us? Sometimes, even with good intentions, breaking the rules can come with a price. But on the other hand, those who pay the price help humanity progress. For example, Galileo, by using a telescope to look at the stars, shattered the Earth-centered universe model and became one of the modern Prometheuses. And of course, every student who thinks, I will study the night before the exam, it will be fine, and then regrets it, writers their own little Prometheus story. But here, it's not Zeus who punishes them, it's the teacher. Prometheus isn't just a mythological figure. He's our curiosity, our love for science, and the inspiration we find in art. His legacy lives on in every creative idea and every groundbreaking discovery. But remember, there's a thin line between fire and knowledge. If you use it wrong, you might just burn yourself. I also can't help but mention this, because I'm sure it's on everyone's mind. Prometheus was rescued from the mountains by Heracles. Who is Heracles? He is Zeus' son. See, even the gods sometimes have children who are contrary and hard to deal with. I'm BİLGE ÇETİN, and that's the end of our mythological adventure for this week. If you really want to thank Prometheus, light a candle, but please, no fires. See you on next episode. Goodbye.